Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Melissa, and I'm your host for today. So I'm a scientific training officer in the training team at EMBL-EBI. So all that is left for me to do is to turn off my webcam now and to welcome Luca Peredu, who is going to talk to you today about getting started in PhenoMeNal.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining this afternoon. So my talk today is entitled Getting Started with PhenoMeNal. I'll be starting the session talking about why you might be interested in PhenoMeNal. Then I'll explain what PhenoMeNal is and go through some basic cloud notions, which you might find useful if you decide to use PhenoMeNal. Then we'll go and talk about the PhenoMeNal portal, and I'll show you how to use it to create your own PhenoMeNal cloud research environment with a live demo. So why might you be interested in PhenoMeNal? So I wonder, do you have a lot of data to analyze? These days we're generating larger data sets, we're running larger studies. Maybe you're running everything on your workstation and it's just begging you to stop. Maybe you realize you need something a little more sophisticated to run your data analysis. Or perhaps you're a person who's tired of spending hours and hours and hours installing analysis tools, compiling them from source, dealing with dependency hell as you try to work them or make them work on your cluster. Or maybe you already know the Galaxy and the Jupyter data analysis platforms, but you'd like to see a version that is a little more metabolomics oriented. So if you're in any of these situations, PhenoMeNal might be the right tool for you. PhenoMeNal, which stands for Phenome Metabolome Analysis, is a project developed by a consortium of 14 partners. It's led by EMBL-EBI, and it's financed by a Horizon 2020 project. We describe PhenoMeNal as an e-infrastructure for metabolomics data processing and analysis pipelines. Now, if we look a little bit closer at this description, we see metabolomics data processing and analysis pipelines. We say this because PhenoMeNal provides an integrated data analysis platform, the cloud research environment. The cloud research environment basically brings together data analysis platforms. That is, we integrated Galaxy, Jupyter, and Ouija to support workflows and interactive analysis. Also, we integrated a number of tools that are very useful for metabolomics analysis. At the moment, we have over 160. They deal with processing NMR data, mass spectrometry data, and they also deal with data transfer. That is, getting data into the cloud research environment and out of it. Finally, PhenoMeNal also includes a number of pre-developed workflows, including Fluxonics workflows, MetFrag workflows, and workflows to work with XCMS or OpenCMS. The other part of the description, the e-infrastructure part, this deals with the fact that PhenoMeNal implements a simple click-through deployment mechanism through its portal. That means we have an online tool, the PhenoMeNal portal, that you can use to install, so to speak. We also say deploy in technical jargon. So to install the PhenoMeNal CRE on any cloud computing resources that are available to you. This means that you can use it to define your own data analysis infrastructure in the form of a CRE that will be only accessible with the credentials you set as you deploy it. So to illustrate, given that you have a cloud computing infrastructure that you can use, the portal automatically installs, configures, and starts a number of services that can be used for your data analysis needs. These services will run on the cloud, and you will access them through a normal web browser. So you'll access these services, upload your data, run your analysis. Once your results are ready, you can download them, and then you can shut everything down. We spoke about cloud infrastructure. So what is the cloud? Here's some cloud basics. Okay, so what is a cloud? The cloud is, it's been described as someone else's computer, which is true, but it's much more than that. The cloud centralizes provisioning of computing power, which means that somebody has gone through the effort of collecting a large number of computers in a single data center and optimizing their energy usage, the efficiency and the maintenance procedures to provide improved flexibility, reliability, and reduce costs. In other words, the cloud turns computing into a utility, much like our electrical utility. What's in it for you as a researcher? Well, you get simple and quick setup of computers. You get to offload all the system administration tasks to people who are specialized in doing that kind of work. You get the flexibility to pay as you go, which means that you don't need to find a large number of funds all at once to buy a large computing cluster to run your analysis. Instead, you rent some machines, you run your analysis, and then you give them back to the owner so that you stop paying. It also means elastic provisioning. This means that if you have a large job that needs to be processed, you can rent a large number of machines for the time that you need to do it. This totally reduces your capital expenditure because you don't need to buy a very large cluster to handle these situations. And it also means that you don't have overcapacity in the sense that if you had the funds to invest in a very large cluster to handle those special cases, the rest of the time, many of those machines would end up being underutilized, so a wasted investment. Now, PhenoMeNal supports a number of cloud providers. Some of these are commercial. We support Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform. For these, a credit card is usually required unless your institution has some kind of institutional account. But if you want to just start playing with them and seeing what it is to work on the cloud, they do have some free starter plans you can take advantage of. We also support private clouds in the form of OpenStack. OpenStack is an open source cloud software, which means that anyone can use it to configure their own cloud at their own institution, for instance. So in fact, if your institute provides a cloud, it very likely is running OpenStack software. Now, onto the PhenoMeNal portal. While the cloud resolves a lot of problems, it obviously introduces its own set of complexities, which means it introduces a skill gap for a new user. The PhenoMeNal portal simplifies these things through automation and a graphical user interface. This means that you can take advantage of a cloud infrastructure without having an in-depth knowledge of how it works. So getting onto the PhenoMeNal portal, to take advantage of it and PhenoMeNal, you'll need to have access to a cloud infrastructure, first of all. And second, you'll need to follow my example. Now, we'll now switch to a live demo, and I'll show you how to use the portal to do some fun things. I'm going to take a second to switch the window I'm sharing. Okay, so here we are. This is the portal website. It has two main functions. The first is to provide information and documentation about PhenoMeNal. The second is to provide a web application to create and manage CRE deployments. The portal is structured in four main sections, all directly accessible from the menu bar here on top. Okay, the home section, the CRE section is the one where we can create and manage PhenoMeNal deployments, but it's only accessible after registering and signing in. On the other hand, the other information-only sections are always accessible, even without authentication. So the home section, which is where we are now, describes PhenoMeNal and its main features. I'd like to draw your attention to one of the buttons here, this try or free public instance. You can follow this link to access the PhenoMeNal customized version of Galaxy running on our test servers. So feel free to come back here after this webinar or look at the tools and the workflows. So the tools you can find here. Okay, you can also look at the workflows that are integrated by going through shared data and workflows. You can try them out. You can run some analyses here. Just keep in mind a couple of things. First, this test setup runs on some small computers. So if you try to upload a very large data set, you'll probably get some kind of error. The second is that it's accessible to anyone. So don't upload any data that you wouldn't want the world to see. Okay, so we're back on the portal, on the home page. We can take a quick look at the app library. The app library is a catalog of the tools that are integrated in PhenoMeNal. You can filter the list by various criteria. So for instance, I can filter and look at only the tools that are useful for NMR data analysis. And I can also search by name. So I can type RNMR here to see if RNMR is integrated in PhenoMeNal. Then you can click on the tool image to get further instructions on how to use it and further details about it. For instance, you can see what version of the tool is integrated in PhenoMeNal. You can get descriptions, some documentation, and also a publication to cite if you produce some publishable results with this tool. Note that the tools can't run here in the app library. The app library is only a source of information. To run the tools, you need to access the cloud research environment, either the test one that I just showed you, or by instantiating your own, which I will show you how to do in a minute. Now let's move to the help page. Here in the help section, you'll find a number of documentation, articles, and workflow tutorials that can help you make the most out of PhenoMeNal. The workflow tutorials in particular, which you hear on this side, will be of particular interest if you'd like to use any of the ready-made workflows that are integrated on the PhenoMeNal platform. They'll explain what the workflow is implementing, the scientific basis for them, and also give you, refer to any publications about them. Finally, there is a feedback and suggestions link up here, which you can use to message the PhenoMeNal team. Either if you need more information or if you're stuck, you have some problems, you can ask for help, and we'll be happy to give you an answer. Now, let's go on to the fun part, the CRE. So from this page, we can access the Cloud Research Environment Management features of the portal. Here, at the top of the page, we see again our try our free public instance button. This is the same link that we saw earlier. So it'll take you to the test site. But now we're ready to create our own CRE. So I'm going to click on Create Your Cloud Research Environment here. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to need to sign in to access these features. Authentication of the portal is done through Elixir AI. You may be familiar with this European infrastructure. Elixir AI will let us sign in with an account that we already have from one of the supported identity providers, which could even be your university. So we're going to continue with the sign-in procedure. Now we'll have to click on the identity provider that we'd like to use. For instance, we have some phenomenal colleagues that are at Uppsala University. So if I were them, I would type Uppsala here, and I could select Uppsala University as my identity provider. That would allow me to sign in with my institutional account. In my case here, for my demo, I'm going to sign in with Orchid. Of course, you can use whatever you prefer. So now I'm going to have to consent to releasing some information to the EBI, which implements our authentication gateway. Note that the first time you use this system, you'll be taken through some extra steps to register with Elixir AI, but the procedure should be simple. Okay, so now that we're authenticated, we're back on the PhenoMeNal portal. We've landed on the Setup New Cloud Research Environment page. So at this stage, we have to tell the portal which cloud we want to use. We see the first option here is the PhenoMeNal test infrastructure again. Then we have our vendor options. So we have Amazon Web Services here, Google Cloud Platform, and then finally here we have OpenStack. So for this demo, I'm going to use AWS. This means that the demo is going to cost me a little bit of money, but not much. So I'm going to run my cloud research environment in Ireland. Now I need to enter my secrets. Now these things that I'm entering are personal values that you only have you'll be able to get from the AWS console once you have an account. If you're not sure how to do it, how to get them, there's a question mark here. You can click here to get some information. Incidentally, these question marks you'll find them throughout the portal. When you see them, it's a source of help. You can get some additional information. Next. Okay, now we have to set a password for our services. That is a password for Galaxy, Jupyter, and Luigi, the things that the CRE is going to start and configure for us. This password will only be valid for the CRE that I'm starting now. Once I tear down the CRE, it will be completely useless. It must contain letters and numbers, and if it doesn't, the site will complain. Now we get to review the information and deploy. Okay, so this is the list of my cloud research environments. Okay, this is a new box that has just been created by my deployment procedure, just as I started. It is a bit of a lengthy procedure. The system has to acquire control of a number of computers on the cloud provider, wait for them to start, download the software, install it, configure it, start it. So altogether, you can expect the startup procedure to last about 15 minutes, maybe even more if there's a heavy load. In any case, the progress bar will track the advancement of the deployment, this one here. As you can tell, that's not very linear though, as we're not 3/4 of the way through the procedure. In any, the CLEs are given a unique name, which you can use to refer to them, even if you need support. Just below, you can see the state of the CRE. This one here is starting. This one here, I started this morning and it's already running. At the bottom of the box, we have a logs button. Okay, you can use this to see logs that are emitted throughout the startup of the CRE. And also, if you have problems, you can go there looking for an error message that you can send us, the PhenoMeNal team, and we can try to figure out what's going on. Okay, so now while this CRE is starting, we're going to look at the deployment that's already running. The icons here at the bottom link to the services that the cloud research environment is running. We have Jupyter here, Galaxy, and Luigi. To access them, we can click on the icon. But first, we need to copy the password. This is the same password that we entered just a short while ago during our deployment procedure. Okay, so let's start having a look at Jupyter. I click on Jupyter, it asks me for a password. I can paste it and log in. Okay, so here we have our own fully operational Jupyter instance running on the computers that are located in Amazon's data center. Now, if we go back to the portal, we can see if our Galaxy instance is running. And here it is. It asks us to log in. So this is the same data that we entered as we were deploying. I'm going to paste in the same password, and I'm going to log in. And here it is. Now this will look a lot like the test instance that we saw earlier. It's got the same tools. It's got the same workflows that are shared. However, this is my instance. This one is running on the machines that I'm renting for Amazon, and nobody can access it. Nobody can see it without my passwords. And the moment I delete my deployment, this will cease to exist. Okay, we go back to the portal. We can do the same with Luigi. We just click here, and it'll open the. There you go. Here is Luigi. If anybody uses Luigi for their workflows, we have a Luigi instance that is running and can be used. Now, okay, so the final thing that one could do is stop. So once you're done doing your analysis, you want to tear your CRE down so that you stop paying for the cloud resources, or so that you free up your institution's machines for other users. You can go to stop. Here the portal asks me if I'm sure I want to stop, because once I stop it, it's gone. All the data that is on it will be gone. I won't be able to download any more results. Okay, so at this stage, I'm not going to confirm because I'm going to use this later. But if I was to go yes, then my deployment would cease to exist. Okay, so this concludes my live demo. I'm going to switch back to my slides. Okay, here we are again. So in conclusion, the cloud can give you cost efficiency, scalability, and flexibility. PhenoMeNal can use the cloud to give you a ready-to-use data analysis platform with all the metabolomics tools and workflows that are most commonly used, and an interactive analysis environment as well. This means that you can avoid having to do any more tool installations. The PhenoMeNal portal can give you a click-through PhenoMeNal deployment on your own cloud infrastructure or on a cloud infrastructure that you rent from one of the commercial cloud providers. So an announcement, coming soon, we're going to have a live training event, Metabolomics data analysis in the cloud on June 6th to the 8th. You can follow this link for more information. And finally, after the session, please tell us what you thought through the survey. And this concludes my talk. Thanks for listening.
Thanks very much, Luca. So we do have time for questions. If you do have a question for Luca, please type it in the chat box, and then we'll read it out and see if we can answer it for you.
Okay, so I see a few questions. Somebody wished for a practical metabolomics example. I'm sorry, I don't have a practical example ready. However, the tutorials, there's a number of tutorials that you can access through the PhenoMeNal website, which will take you through the workflows, and you can see, well, you can follow step by step and see how you'd run a practical analysis session with one of those workflows, for instance. There's another question regarding copying password credentials for the Siri session, whether it was used again later. So yes, I can share the deployment page again and show you. Okay, so at all times, this is my base for accessing the services. The credentials that I'm going to need to access Jupyter, Galaxy, or Luigi are always the ones that you find here in your deployment box. Okay, you would for Galaxy, I copied my email address here, and then I pressed the key to copy the password into my clipboard. So that's what I would use to access them. It would look like within PhenoMeNal. So regarding results within PhenoMeNal, I don't have any running results, but let's see. What you would have is really if you were going to use Galaxy, you could look into the Galaxy tutorials and see what they would show you. There's, right from PhenoMeNal, there's links to the official documentation, to tutorials and such. In essence, what you would have is a list of data sets here. Okay, some of them would be the ones that you uploaded, and some of them would be the output of your analysis. At that stage, then you could click on them and visualize them depending on what they are. If they're graphs, then maybe you could see them. An HTML layout page could be displayed directly within your browser. Data you would have to probably download and look at in some other means. There's a question about copyright. How is copyright dealt with within cloud? Copyright, maybe you mean privacy. This really depends. The onus is on the user in the sense that some cloud providers might provide you with some guarantees about the security of the data that you upload to them. Some might not. So you need to be aware of that. For instance, Amazon itself will let you allocate machines in Europe or in the United States. If you're going to export some sensitive data to the United States, you really got to be careful about that. So you would choose machines that are in Europe. But overall, this requires some awareness on the part of the user. You are sending data to machines that are somewhere in somebody's data center. If you need to make sure that that data does not become public, you need to ensure that the cloud provider will give you some security guarantees. As far as PhenoMeNal is concerned, we're giving you a tool that is accessible only with password authentication. So you need to be careful with that, with those credentials as well. How to analyze sensitive data in the cloud? Well, that kind of goes with what I was saying. You need to be careful about what you do with that. Some people that we know are using PhenoMeNal in a context where they're processing sensitive data. Well, they have their own private cloud in the sense that their institute has purchased a number of machines that they've installed in a secure network area where it cannot access the outside world. So that way, any data that goes onto that cloud remains in the cloud. In that case, you still get the benefits from the point of view of managing the computers, the informatics solution, but you don't get the same flexibility, say, as in I can rent 3 machines for an hour and that's it, because that cloud has been set up for that specific use case. Okay, so there's a question, are there Galaxy workflows available, or are there any workflow converters that can make 9 workflows available in PhenoMeNal? This I'm not sure of. I know Galaxy has been building in the support for the common workflow language, so there might be a way to export 9 workflows, perhaps through the common workflow language compatibility, or maybe Galaxy actually has support for that directly. I'm not sure about that question. What I can say while I'm here is that I can show you the workflows that are included in PhenoMeNal directly. We have shared data. I went to share data and then workflows. So here you can see the entire list that is automatically installed with any CRE installation. Okay, we have Metabolomics workflow for using camera, Fluxomics, and other Fluxomics workflows, univariate and multivariate statistics analysis for Metabolomics, and so on. There's a number of them here.
Okay, so it looks like there aren't any more questions this afternoon, so that just leaves me to say thank you very much to Luca for presenting the webinar, and thank you to all of us for joining us this afternoon. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for attending, everyone.